Hey everyone, this is Captain Kyle and I want to talk about Terminator Dark Fate. It is the 3rd/6th movie in the franchise and it's getting more hate than Genesis. So I'm here to break down where Dark Fate stands with the rest of the franchise and why it's actually a good fit. Unpopular opinion. So let's go back, way back, to Terminator, the very first film in the franchise. Kyle Reese, freedom fighter, went back in time to save Sarah Connor. You know the story. The Terminator is defeated, Kyle Reese dies, but not before impregnating Sarah Connor with the future leader of humanity, their savior, John Connor. And you know what? Terminator was a perfect film from a time travel perspective. There were no paradoxes, it was perfectly consistent in every way. But then came Terminator 2, Judgment Day. It was an awesome movie. Sure, maybe they kind of fudged a little with John Connor's age, and they slightly retconned a bit of the first Terminator movie. Remember the whole no fate but what we make it thing?
The future's not set. There's no fate but what we make for ourselves.
Well, that never happened. That was not part of the message. Here is John Connor's message that he sent back with Kyle.
Thank you, Sarah, for your courage through the dark years. I can't help you with what you must soon face except to say that the future is not set. You must be stronger than you imagine you can be. You must survive or I will never exist. That's all.
There's absolutely nothing about there is no fate but what we make for ourselves. He does say the future is not set, but honestly, Terminator 2 was such a cool movie, we can forgive that minor revision. And Sarah, John, and Uncle Bob the Terminator managed to stop Skynet from ever happening and averted Judgment Day, which brings us to Dark Fate. Now yes, there were other movies in between, and some of them were pretty entertaining. But the original T3 saw Sarah Connor die off-screen from leukemia before the new Judgment Day ever happened, which totally sucked. Whereas Dark Fate picks up after T2, ignores all that other stuff, which is good, but with this new story, some people freaked. So in Dark Fate, within the first few minutes of the movie, John Connor dies at the hands of a Terminator, and people are pissed. And you know something? I wasn't too thrilled with it either, but it does not rewrite the history of the franchise. It doesn't disrespect what came before. It doesn't do any of that. Terminator 2 changed everything. Instead of John Connor becoming the savior of humanity after billions of people died, he saved those billions of people and became their savior, and they didn't even know about it. No one even really knew that he, along with Mom and Uncle Bob, saved the world. But because of this, a lot of things were set in motion. Skynet wasn't built, Judgment Day didn't happen, and Cyberdyne itself probably went out of business. I mean, they didn't have the year's worth of research that they got from the chip and the other stuff from the first Terminator, and they didn't have that stuff to recreate that research, so the threat of Skynet was totally gone. But now, here comes Legion, a new AI that was built to basically head off cyber warfare. Eventually it becomes self-aware, and like every AI that becomes self-aware, for some reason it decides we should just destroy all of humanity. And now, John Connor's dead, who was killed by Terminators sent back in time by Skynet before the timeline was changed. Because in this version of time travel, changing things in the present that will change the future won't eliminate things in the present that were sent from the future. Or we created a brand new alternate reality, so we actually have a timeline where Judgment Day still happened and a Judgment Day where now it didn't happen. And these things were sent back from the timeline before the split, so they're here. But here's the thing, even if John Connor was not killed, there's no guarantee he would still be the savior of humanity. Since the future was different, a number of things could have happened to him. He could have died in a bar fight, or from appendicitis, or because he figured Judgment Day wasn't going to happen, he could have been one of those cities that Legion nuked when Judgment Day did arrive. Or he could have just died off screen from leukemia, because that's great. It makes total sense that John wouldn't necessarily be the one who was going to take on this new AI. Would it have been cool if John was still around and helped train the new savior, Danny? Sure, but they didn't go that way. Do I think Dark Fate is a perfect movie? No. There were some issues, and quite frankly, some of those issues span all of the movies. I mean, the Terminator that killed John becomes Carl, the curtain guy? Now, a lot of people are saying that he wouldn't evolve and learn because, well, there was a deleted scene from T2 where they switched the chip in that Terminator so from read-only so that he could actually learn, but it was a deleted scene, so it's not canon. And it's kind of weird, if Skynet doesn't want Terminators to learn, why make it so they have a switch that if you flick it, now they can learn? And why wouldn't Skynet want them to learn? Because they're infiltrators, and the more they learn, the better they can infiltrate, so there's that. But Carl the Terminator having a family, that was just kind of a little dumb in my opinion. He's a machine. He pretty much accomplished his mission. It's not like if your computer finishes printing out a report for you, it doesn't get bored waiting and start an Etsy shop. Terminators are not supposed to be AIs themselves, but this is how they decided to bring in Arnold. So Danny being the new savior is perfectly okay, makes sense. In fact, her character seemed a little bit more assertive than Sarah Connor's character seemed in the original. Though we didn't see a lot of character development, it's an action movie. And Grace being the super soldier sent back from the future is perfectly fine as well. There are a lot of parallels between her and Kyle Reese, except for the impregnating part. But there is absolutely nothing wrong with those characters, and I, for one, enjoyed the movie. My issue with the movie is, if this future AI is called Legion, why didn't it send back a legion of Terminators? Or at least half a dozen. I have absolutely no issue with the fact that Legion's Terminators and Skynet's Terminators pretty much look very similar. There are only so many ways to design infiltration units, and computers are going to come up with similar solutions. I can't really say that Skynet or Legion really has all that much imagination. But either of those AI should have sent back a squad of Terminators to take care of their targets, not just one, especially when you consider how difficult it was for the heroes to defeat just one Terminator. 6 of them would be overwhelming. The only reason I could think why Skynet or Legion wouldn't send back a whole bunch of Terminators is maybe they were trying to limit their impact on the timeline because they were worried that they might cause changes that would invalidate their own existence. But considering how the Terminators didn't exactly try to hide their activities or their abilities, it really didn't seem like a big concern. I also did like in Dark Fate how the Rev 9 acted a lot more human as it was interacting with other human beings. And it makes total sense. Skynet attacked in 1997, Legion attacks sometime in the not too distant future, and Legion has a lot more resources to examine human behavior. Legion can study YouTube videos and blog posts and movies, books, and tons of behavioral data from the internet, so it could actually design much smoother infiltration techniques. I know Dark Fate ignored all the movies after T2, but I have to say T3 did have some great concepts in it. Since I couldn't locate John Connor, the Terminator in T3 was killing off all his lieutenants. No leader, no matter how brilliant, can lead without competent people in their command. But Dark Fate returned to the whole premise, the original thing, of one great leader in the future. And it does make sense for Danny to be that leader because we have another circular loop. Since Legion targeted Danny in the past, she is now aware of Legion before Legion even emerges. She would go on to be mentored by the mother of all saviors, Sarah Connor, and also kind of learned how to resist a genocidal AI. Legion created its own problem, which is a mistake these AIs seem to make all the time. And if you accept the premise of the Terminator franchise, then Terminator Dark Fate is a great movie. And if you are hung up on John Connor being pushed aside, then you didn't pay attention to him completing his hero's journey much earlier in T2. And if you have a problem with the gender or ethnicity of Danny Ramos, then you have issues I can't help you with. Like I said, it's good, not perfect, but good. and it's really no more flawed than any other movie in the franchise. It was great action, it was great special effects, and the story was pretty much on par with what happened in the first Terminator. Now we need Dark Fate 2 to rewrite the future yet again and confuse the hell out of us. So that's my take on Dark Fate and the Terminator franchise. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And we also have some other videos you can check out over here. If you like this video, you can subscribe down there, hit the notification bell. Also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for watching, and as always, have fun and follow your fandom.